There's a time of day when your own brain turns against you. It's not the same clock hour for everyone, but you know exactly which moment I'm talking about. That point at night when silence sets in, the distractions disappear, and suddenly a thought that stayed quiet all day decides to show up at full volume. An old regret. A feeling that something is missing, even without knowing what. An emptiness that, during the busy day, you couldn't even notice. Scientists have a technical name for the brain network that switches on at exactly that hour, and it behaves in an almost ironic way. It only really kicks in once you stop doing everything else. Now picture an ant. She spends her entire life going back and forth from the same nest, repeating the same routine, with absolutely no quiet pause where this kind of thought could ever surface. And here's the question that's going to guide this video all the way through. Is it that the ant doesn't feel that emptiness because she's too simple for it? Or is it that she doesn't feel it because, unlike you, she's never stayed still long enough for the emptiness to show up? Let's take this piece by piece, because this story involves real neuroscience, and its name is the default mode network. It was discovered by accident in the 2000s, by researchers who were actually trying to find the brain areas that went quiet when a person wasn't doing any specific task inside an MRI machine. Except instead of finding neural silence, they found the opposite, a network of brain regions that became extremely active precisely when the person had no external stimulus to process. In other words, the human brain, far from resting in the absence of tasks, switches on a system of its own, one geared toward thinking about itself, replaying memories, and simulating scenarios from the past and the future. That explains part of the mystery, but not the most important part yet. Because the reason this network gets more active specifically at night has to do with another piece of the puzzle: cortisol. This hormone, which helps regulate alertness and cognitive control, follows a well-defined circadian rhythm. It peaks shortly after you wake up, and drops steadily until it hits its lowest point right at the start of the evening. The problem is that this same cortisol, at proper levels during the day, also helps keep your ability to regulate intrusive thoughts under control. When it drops at night, alongside the natural fall in body temperature that prepares the body for sleep, your ability to filter and contain negative thoughts drops along with it. You're not weaker emotionally at night. Your neurochemical braking system is, quite literally, running at its lowest point, at the exact same moment your self-reflection network is more active than at any other time of day. We already have both ingredients of the recipe: a brain network that gets switched on and strengthened by the absence of external stimulation, and an emotional control system that's momentarily weaker. Add to that the physical silence of night. No work, no traffic, no conversation, no screen, and you have the perfect environment for any uncomfortable thought, one that stayed muffled all day under the noise of life, to finally get heard. Now go back to the ant. She doesn't have a complex prefrontal cortex. She has nothing resembling a default mode network. What she has is a nervous system built almost entirely to react to immediate stimuli: light, temperature, pheromones, physical contact with other ants. When there's no stimulus to process, her system simply lowers its activity, without producing any kind of self-reflection in the vacuum. This is the first important twist in this story. The absence of nighttime emptiness in an ant isn't because she's somehow more balanced or wiser in some spiritual sense. It's because the hardware that would produce that emptiness simply doesn't exist in her. She doesn't escape the emptiness. She never had the piece that would generate the possibility of it in the first place. That alone would be a satisfying answer. But there's a second layer to this story, and it connects directly to something most people have never actually thought about regarding their own sleep. Recent research in clinical psychology shows something curious about what's called nighttime rumination. That cycle of repetitive thoughts that shows up exactly at that hour. In most cases, it isn't a sign that some brand new problem is emerging in your life. Most of the time, it's emotional material that was already there the entire day, just muffled by the sheer volume of external stimuli competing for your attention. The difference between your day and your night isn't the content of the thought. It's the volume of the environment around it. During the day, that thought had to compete with emails, conversations, traffic, screens, tasks. At night, it finally gets the microphone all to itself, with no competition at all. That completely changes how you should interpret that nighttime emptiness. It isn't showing up because something suddenly got worse at 9 o'clock at night. It's showing up because, finally, nothing else is drowning out the signal anymore. And this is exactly where the second twist of this story comes in, and it's the one that really matters. Nighttime silence, which seems to be the villain of this whole situation, actually isn't the problem. It's just the microphone being switched on. The actual content that comes through that microphone, the regret, the feeling of emptiness, the comparison with how things could have been different, was already there. It just had nowhere to be heard. And here's why this distinction matters. If the problem were silence itself, the obvious solution would be to simply avoid silence forever. Sleep with the TV on, fill every second of pause with stimulation, never sit still. And that's exactly what a lot of people do, without realizing they're just pushing the problem to the next day, because the content stays right there, untouched, waiting for the next window of silence to show up again. The ant doesn't have this problem because she never accumulates unprocessed emotional content in the first place. She doesn't have the capacity to generate that kind of content at all. You do, and repeatedly muffling the microphone doesn't erase the recording. It just delays the moment someone is going to have to listen to it. Researchers studying what's called emotional processing have found something that seems counterintuitive at first. People who deliberately set aside a short, structured moment during the day to review their worries, some studies call this scheduled worry time, report less out-of-control rumination at night, compared to people who try to suppress those thoughts all day long. The explanation is simple once you understand the mechanism. The thought doesn't need absolute silence at 9 at night to be processed. At some point during the day, it needs deliberate space, with a clear start and end, to be acknowledged and filed away. When that space is never given voluntarily, the brain ends up grabbing the nearest available slot, which, in most modern lives, is exactly the moment right before you fall asleep, when you finally stopped running from it. So nighttime emptiness isn't a malfunction in your brain. It's a direct, completely predictable product of having a mind capable of self-reflection, simulating past and future, and emotional processing, combined with a lifestyle that rarely gives that processing any structured space during the day. An ant will never feel that emptiness, not because she's solved some existential mystery you haven't, but because she never had anything resembling a pending emotional file waiting to be reviewed in the first place. This isn't a reason to want to be an ant. It's a reason to understand that the emptiness that shows up at 9, 10, 11 at night isn't some random enemy attacking you out of nowhere. It's a delayed signal of something that had already been asking for attention much earlier, just without enough volume to be heard over the noise of the day. The question worth carrying with you isn't how to make that emptiness disappear for good. It's, is there some space in your current routine, even a small one, even just 5 minutes, where those thoughts would have a chance to be heard before night arrives and switches on the microphone all by itself, in the dark, with nobody around to listen with you?